I usually do is tape it in two places to keep it stable. Then you take the graphite paper, and again, there's kind of it's more of a matte side, and this is more of a shiny or darker side. What I do is slide the acetate under the drawing and just take, you can take a ballpoint pen, you can use a stylus, whatever, and just trace all the way around the pattern. Once you get the pattern on, before you take the acetate paper off, check and make sure you've got what all you're going to need. In this case, I just needed the petals, so that's all that I traced on. The colors that I have are royal violet, royal violet with some black in it, mixing yellow, yellow red, 3 values of green, a light, medium, and a darker. And I have what I'm going to be using today is number 10 square shader. Also, if you prefer to do your own drawing on the porcelain, all you have to do is take a pointer and get it loaded with color and draw your pattern, your pansy on. In this case, the pansy is a 5-petal flower. It has two, I'm going to call them, well, 2 petals in the back. So there's one, there's the second petal in the back. And then there are 2 petals in the front. And they come from the center out. And then the main petal comes down from here, kind of sweeps down, almost like a daffodil, jonquil, whatever you want to call them. So there you have the outline. After you get your design on whether you trace it or whether you freehand it, then you take your square shader and fully load it. In this case, I'm going to make this pansy using the red violet. So I have color all the way across the brush. You can see the brush strokes there where it's heavier on one side, but it is all the way across the brush. So then what I'm going to do, I'm going to erase this first of all, so I don't confuse everybody. And then I start at the back of the flower and just paint in the shape of the petal. It does not have to be exact, just as long as you get some color there. Reloaded my brush, and I'm going to put some color in here. And because I'm a lazy painter, well, I've still got some color on my brush. I'm going to put some darker color down here. One nice thing about painting on porcelain is we can turn the pieces any way we want. So in this case, I've had it this way, but on this front petal, I want more of the color on the outer edge. These I've left the outer edge light, so it's going to show some depth basically right away. Starting out here, I just take the color and apply it. And don't worry about the outside edges, we can clean them up later. Then what I want to do is get some color on the outer edge of the petal. So I've cleaned a lot of the paint off of my brush right here. And I'm just going to start on the outer edge and bring a little bit of color to that outer edge.
You're feathering?
Yeah, I'm just putting some color down at this point. And I'm going to work on the back 2 petals. First of all, and you apply the paint. And I know some people think it's really kind of silly to do it this way, You put the paint on and then you kind of wipe it off. But while you're wiping, you're kind of blending. I'm holding the brush way up on the handle. Before I had it down here. Now I'm going to be holding it up on the end of the brush and just kind of take a sweeping motion and pull it down toward the inside of the petal. If you can get the direction of your brush strokes flowing the same way that the petal would be growing. Again, I'm going to soften this. And then I'm going to go back and with a little bit of color on my brush, I'm going to put some color on this outer edge. When I do the first fire painting, I like to keep things quite light. If you make a mistake, it's easier to fix a light mistake than a darker one. So for the first fire, I would try and keep it as light as you can. What I'm trying to do now is get these brush strokes smooth. And then on the main petal or the front petal, I just start from the outside edge and pull it in toward the inside. Now, as you can see, I can still see the graphite underneath there. So I use a wipeout tool, the chisel edge of the wipeout tool, and I'm going to wipe out where one petal is on top of the other one. So I'm going to wipe out here. And when I say I'm going to wipe out, I do want a strong wipeout on there. After it's wiped out, use a clean oiled brush and soften that edge. Start from the lighter side and come out and down. That definitely puts that petal on the top. I can see where I hit it with a brush, and I do need to make this a little bit larger now. It's kind of easier. If you want, you can use a Q-tip. If you notice, there was a little pileup of oil right there. I don't like that. It could cause a problem. So I take a Q-tip and I'm going to clean this edge back out. And then I'm going to soften it, preferably without hitting that back pedal. There we go. And then again, this pedal is in front of this pedal and also in front of this pedal. So what I'm going to do is wipe out so it's defined much better. And again, you can use a Q-tip to get this wipeout edge without a line of oil at the top there. Once you get that wiped out, again, you start at the wiped out edge and bring it in toward the center. And again, I'm holding way up on the brush. This one is going to be wiped out. This is in front of this one. So I'm going to wipe this area out. Again, the Q-tip does not leave that oiled edge there, so sometimes it's faster to use the Q-tip, but if it works easier for you with a wipeout tool, by all means, use it. Okay. What I'm going to do is bring this petal over the top of this one. So yeah, use Q-tip. I'm going to just bring it over like that. Again, kind of soften this area so you don't have a big buildup of paint or a definite line there. Now the front pedal generally comes out basically like it's got its arms opened up wide. Let's do that one a little bit more. And I'm going to put, actually, this, what I'm trying to do is this is in front of this one. This is in front of this one. So I'm going to try and remember to bring this one a little bit more that way. Again, take your clean oiled brush and start at the wiped out edge and pull it toward the outer edge of the petal. Try and get the brush strokes as smooth as you can. You can go back and forth as many times as you need to get that wiped out. And actually what I'm going to do now is wipe out some more of this because I want some yellow in there for the throat. So I'm going to put some mixing yellow on my brush, have the heaviest up toward the top of the petal. And blend it down. When you're blending, chances are you're going to get, in this case, some of the yellow on the pink. That is not a bad thing. It can work to the good of the pansy. Don't panic. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is kind of clean up some of these edges just so nobody gets upset about it. And I'm taking the Q-tip and going close to the petal and wiping it out. Okay, I can see where this petal just kind of stops there. It doesn't connect. So I'm going to start at the wiped out edge and bring some color down. And then I'm going to give this petal a little bit different shape just by wiping it out. Try not to have this too regular of a line. You want to add some more interest in there. So that would go right there. Clean this up a little bit. And then what I like to do is put some yellow on my brush, a very little bit of yellow red, and that gets painted right in the center here. Okay, not quite that much. Smooth that in pretty well. And then on the pansies, I can show you on this one. The pansies will have a wiped out area right by the throat of the pansy. So I'm taking a Q-tip. This one happens to have a pointed end on it. And I'm going to make a comma stroke. It's going to shape up that area there. And then another comma stroke. Just wiping it out. That's all you have to do. Okay. I'm going to check it. If I see anything that I feel should be changed a little bit, I can do that right at this point. To me, this petal is almost in line with this. You can see where there's a variation there. So what I'm going to do is pull this color out here. Whoops. Let's get the orange off. By the way, I use light mineral oil for painting and also for cleaning my brush. It's an oil that you can get at a pharmacy. They generally have to order it for you, but they usually can do it. If you can't get it through a pharmacy, the pharmacy will sell it, I'm going to say like by the pint. If you can't get it by the pint, you can order it online by the gallon. If you need to get a gallon, find a fellow China painter and split that gallon with them. You might think you're not going to use that much, but trust me, it's good to have when you need it. Okay, so that would be my first fire. At this point, I really don't see a lot that I have to correct. I'm just going to wipe this one down a little bit more so that it's even with that one. I think that'll do it for the first fire. So after you have checked it, fire it at cone 016, and it should turn out looking something like this. So on a second fire, you're not going to paint the whole thing again. What you're going to do is darken the areas where you want some depth. And again, I'm going to use the Royal Violet. If you don't want to use the Royal Violet, if you want to change this color a little bit, you could use blues, other purples. Sometimes even if you want it really dark, you could go with black in the Royal Violet or black in your color to darken it. So again, I'm going to try and get this pretty dark in here. Get the color on. Now you notice I have not painted this whole petal. That's about all I'm going to do on this one this time around. I did go over a little bit here, so I'm going to correct that and get that where it needs to be. And then I'm going to darken down here. I want it quite a bit more dark. So I'm going to add some more of the Royal Violet color. The beauty of the China paints is they are transparent. So once you add one color on top of another, like I said, if you want to change the color or the variety, whatever you want to call it, if you want to change that, just add another color. Again, I'm going to clean this edge up as I go. And then I'm going to definitely darken these other two areas on the two middle petals. Get the color in there and then soften it on the other edge. This edge, you want a definite line. The other one, you do want it softer. So what I've done is take most of the color out of the brush. Again, starting at the lighter edge and working inward. Just smooth it. Okay, smooth this one just a bit more. Okay, got a dirty brush. Clean that back. And soften that edge again. Okay. This is pretty much okay, but I can add a little bit more color just to darken this outer edge. Again, where I have put that darker color, I do want to smooth it. So I'm bringing it toward the center. Okay. That would be a second fire. Compare it to the first fire. You can see the first fire is very light. Second fire is a bit more pronounced on the petals. You have a bit more depth, a bit more color. Um, so you check this. If there's anything that needs any correction on it, now is the time to do it. If everything is okay, just go ahead and fire this at cone 016. And it should look something like, well, like this without the whiskers. Um, now this one, in my opinion, all it needs is the whiskers. And for that, I have a different brush. So what I do, this is a 10-aught. See how it's a fine liner. It has long bristles and very few bristles.
So 10-aught is 10 zeros?
10 zeros. Now, when I use the liner brush, I take some of the royal violet and black and mix them together. Okay, so it's stuck. Oh, thank you. So this is what I was going to do, is move this over so you could see what I was doing. So I have some royal velvet and black, and it's pretty thick. It's too thick for me to use as it is in this case. So what I'm going to do is take some outlining oil or pen oil. You can call it whatever you want. You can even use turpentine if that works for you. You just want it a little bit thinner so it's going to come off that liner easier than trying to use the thickened paint. But this is outlining oil. Yeah. And you just need a little bit of it. So you mix that up. Here's my green brush again. Okay. I'm going to put it on this one. And the way that I apply it is start right up by this comma stroke and put a puddle of color there. It's kind of a big puddle, but it depends on the variety of the pansy. Now, what I'm going to do is take quite a bit of that color off the brush. I don't know if I can get it so you can, I can,
Yeah, we can see.
yes, but can you see how piled up it is?
You can see the
Mhm.
reflection.
Oh, okay, okay,
Clearly.
okay. So the easiest thing for me to do is start with a relatively clean brush, and it should come to a point. And I start basically in the center. And what I'm going to do is brush toward myself. So I start in that puddle of paint, pull it toward me, start again in the puddle of paint, and just keep pulling this out. Okay. You can put as many whiskers as you want. But this is what makes it or defines it as a pansy to me. The whiskers are the kind of like the end game. And you just keep pulling it out until you get it the way you want it. And I'm going to quit while I'm ahead. So I can show you how to paint some a leaf. Well, I also I can tell you if you want more than one pansy on it, you can take the same pattern and put it down. Do not line them up so it's in a line. You want to change the direction of one of them at least. What I would do is try and get,
You could even turn them over, right? You could turn that over and that would give you a different,
yeah, yes, you could do that. But I think what I would do is going to be, I think maybe a little bit easier for me. You got the 5-petal flower. we know there are 5 petals there. So you're going to put one petal back here, or one part of a petal, pardon me. And this is going to come down here. This is going to be the other part of this petal. Those are the 2 back petals. And then you're going to put the 2 center petals in. And then it's going to have the front petal is going to start right up in here. And yes, it is coming off the plate. Then what I would do is, again, this is a first fire on this particular flower. So I'm going to fully load my brush and just paint in this area. And this is kind of interesting in that generally, whatever the color is when you use the China paints, it pretty much stays that color after it's fired. But you can see the difference. This is unfired, this is fired. In this case, this paint turns a little bit more pink or ruby. I think I've got some yellow in the brush too. Kind of looks like it because it's turning it a little bit brown. Oh well, we're going to stick with it. Okay. On another fire, this will get darker. You will be putting deeper color in there just to separate the 2 petals, so people know which is on top and which is on the bottom. I'm just going to do this real quick, like, so you can get the idea of what you want to do here. Okay, I've got some color in there. I'm going to kind of smooth it a bit. Again, I'm back up on the handle of my brush. And it does not bother me that this pansy is coming off the side of the plate. That's just the way it is. Pansies grow in all directions. Okay. Again, this is the rough outline of this flower. So what I'm going to do is go back and use a Q-tip and show you the division on the petals. What I'm going to do this time around is I'm going to bring this petal on top. So this is the center of my flower. I'm going to just bring this like this. And I'm going to go back in and soften this edge. Okay. What I'm going to do also is soften this right in here. It's bothering me. So I'm going to get that darkness out of there a little bit. And I'm not really concerned about the outer edge at this point. I can change that in just a few minutes. Okay. Then this petal is going to come over this one. And I'm going to blend that edge in again. Again, I'm giving myself quite a bit of white area to start that brush. But as you do this, it does blend from basically white into whatever color you're using. Okay. And then this one is going to be coming in front of this one. So I'm changing the shape of this petal, starting at the white and pulling, softening, cleaning the brush as you go along. This is a little bit too stark right here, so there we go. Now I see I do not like the shape of this petal already, so I'm gonna pull this back out here. Then I can take the Q-tip and wipe out the outer edge of the petal. That's a pretty big one. I'm going to move this up here. Okay. This is too big for what I want. So I'm going to move this up this way. Which is going to make this middle petal even lighter. Yeah, it's going to be even lighter, but that's okay. We can fix that on another fire. Okay, I like that better. But then I want to move this one up a bit also. Oops. Okay. And I have little hair from the brush that I do want to get off of here before I go any further. I'm going to be using a product called a kneaded eraser. Well, this is a little piece of a kneaded eraser. It comes in a block that's roughly 1 by 2 inches. And what you do is I tear off a piece. Some people leave the whole block intact, but whatever you can work with, go for it. And you work it in your hands, it softens it up, and you can shape it any way you want to shape it. I don't know if you can see, but there's a hair right in there. So what I do is bring the kneaded eraser to a point and hit that hair, pick it up, and it's gone. So, okay. Yeah. Poof goes the hair. Okay. Yes, I do want this one over here. See a little bit more of this front petal since I moved this up a bit. So I'm just going to wipe some of this out. And actually what I'm going to do is put some yellow in there. So I clean my brush, get most of the pink out of there, go into the yellow and just a little bit of the yellow red and put the stamen in there along with just a little bit of yellow coming up this way. And sticking together here. Okay, then on this one, we do need these comma strokes. So again, I've taken a clean Q-tip and I'm going to start up in here and just make that comma stroke. Okay, now it's not gonna look like too much until another fire. When I get the whiskers in, that's gonna set it up to look like more like a pansy. The outer edge needs to be repaired on this one. So this side is pretty good. I think I'm happy with that one. This one, though, I want to come back here. I think I want to bring it back about that far. And actually, it can be bigger. I'm trying to get this one um, pretty much the same size. This one is about, could be about this far. This one I would like just a little bit further out. So what I'm gonna do is just brush some of that color out a little bit further. And you can see there is a little bit of yellow in the brush yet. Again, that does not bother me. On another fire, I could add several other colors. It would not make a difference. As I said, they're transparent, so it's going to blend in as long as you don't isolate that color you want to use. Um, like I have the yellow there, but I also have the yellow there. So use the yellow in more than one spot. We have the high-tech Q-tips. Okay, this, I'm just gonna soften this edge right in there. And then I think I'll call that one good. So I am going to show you a leaf. Just happen to have a leaf here. Okay. This is a pansy leaf. You can see it's not a straight edge. It's kind of a scalloped edge. I think I want a leaf down in here. Again, I would keep this light. Um, you can always darken it on another fire. That's not a problem. So actually I've got a couple of shades of green here, and I can just go ahead and paint something like this. Because then I can go back with a Q-tip and I can get those little scallops on there. Okay, yep, I do want you here. I often talk to myself too, so,
Whatever works.
well, at least I know somebody is listening.
Mhm.
Now, if you want to count all the scallops on a little leaf like this, you go right ahead. I'm just going to make some so you get the idea of what kind of a leaf this is. They do not come to a point on the end. Actually, it's kind of like a little heart shape there. I don't know if you can see that or not, but what I do want to do is get a little bit darker because this leaf is going to be under this leaf when I'm through. So I want a darker value in what I would call the shadow area. Again, I'm not being really careful with the shape of this one because I can shape the outer edge right now. Again, get a few of the scallops in, try not to make it too regular. Um, this, okay. That would be the first fire. I would go ahead and fire that. And then on another fire, what I would do is put some veins in the leaves I would actually have more leaves in this, but put some veins in. Okay, get a little bit more color so you can see it. Okay. And then just a couple, okay. For some reason, the brush is splitting. Not enough oil in it. Just add a couple, a little, I'm gonna call them like a side vein. And on the real leaf, you can see them start at the center vein and go all the way out. And by the way, when you put the center vein in, do not take it all the way to the end. Stop, leave a bit of unpainted surface between the vein and the outer edge. But then you can again put some of these in here. Okay. Okay, just get some variety in there. Nice. I think that's it. Okay, these are a couple of finished pieces. They were done with blues and the violet colors.
You might want to turn around because we have it, so it's facing you. There.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
that's right. Okay. So, one of the problems that I had with this was after I got the flowers painted and wanted to do something for the background, I had a solid band of this light lilac color and used a brush and did, I don't call them scrolls, but the little side effects to separate the white from the color and fired it. And when I took it out of the kiln, lo and behold, there was like a black scribble down here. So the only thing I could think of to cover that black scribble was to put a band of the royal violet in black around the outside edge. This one is just showing you how you could, you can put just colors in the background. Whatever colors you put in the background, be sure that you have them somewhere on the plate. Like I've got some blue, so I've got some blue in here. I've got some of the violet color, some of the chartreuse. Just keep everything coordinated. Okay.
Thank you. That was really great. I appreciate that.